High School for hosting us, and I want to thank you for coming out. I want to remind you all that we have GoHammond.tv. This is the first year it's been in operation, and it's live right now. So in certain locales, it's actually live. Today it's being aired live, and we do have an audience watching at home as well. So when you're asking a question, Michelle's going to come up to you at the microphone. It's not because you don't have a loud voice and we can't hear you in here. It's so the TV audience can hear as well. We'd also like to remind you that this is going to be available on demand afterwards. You don't even have to pay anything if you want to watch it again. It's free of charge. It's on GoHammond TV along with other mayor's nights. And last week's council meeting, which was very interesting. If you want to watch that, grab some popcorn. It was quite the show. So without further ado, and not because of the hard work of our council president, who's outstanding, I want to thank Councilman Michael Pinker, 5th District Councilman, and the council president. Why don't you come up here and say something, Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Folks, thanks for coming this evening on this beautiful autumn night. What I'd like to go over, some of the projects we've completed in the 5th District and some of the projects we're getting ready to work on, and hopefully some of the monies will freed up and we'll be able to finish some of these projects that should have been done a couple years back. First of all, 73 to 7600 block of Walnut has just been completed. If you've been down that street, that's something that's been in the makings for the last, 7 to 8 years, and we finally got that taken care of. The completion of Woodmar from 67 to 6900 block has been completed also. The next street we're looking at, which is already designed, I know several people have called the mayor show over the last several months in regards to Forestdale, 67 to 6900 block. Actually, that street was supposed to get done this year, but the lack of funds, we weren't able to do it. So like I said, that will be the next street to get done in the 5th District. Also, the section of River Drive between Northcott and Delmar. I know Councilman Emerson's back there, and he just finished the project over there along River Drive, and I was unable to do my 2.5 blocks until that big stretch was completed. So that's something we're looking to get done also next year. The other big thing, proposed light projects. Actually, I had 9 of them on the books for this past year and this year, which we had to put a halt on due to using funds, for the city bailout. Them locations are actually Northcott, 167th to Southeastern, and then also Northcott, 175th all the way to the Borman down here. Ridgeland, 169th to 171st. 171st between Northcott and White Oak. I told you 175th Northcott to River Drive. McCook, 173rd to 175th. Arizona, 173rd to 175th. 173rd and Grand all the way to McCook. Leland, 167th to 169th. And Belmont, 171st to 173rd. Like I said, lighting projects, it's a great thing to get done, and like I says, a lot of these things I wanted to get done in a couple years back, but with the lack of funds, we had to use it, the funds for the bailout of the city. Also, there's been several sidewalk projects that's been completed, and one thing I want to encourage folks: if you do have a sidewalk that it's buckling up or it's really bad, notify the engineering department. We'll get it on a list, and pretty much the sidewalk projects for this year are done, and we'll get back into the, working on them again in the spring. Other than that, I'd like to turn it over to Mayor McDermott. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Where's Michelle? Hey, I'm pretty sure most of you realize how Mayor's Night Out works now. We've been doing this is our 9th year doing it. What we do is we start topics. They're driven by your questions. Over there, Courtney, could you raise your hand? Courtney's in the back over there. If you have any questions, she has the written questionnaires back there. Please fill it out. It's got your name and address on there. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine as well, okay? The reason we like your name and address on there is so that we could get back to you. If you have a problem, we know who to contact and what your number is, okay? If you don't want to if you want to do an anonymous question, that's fine as well, okay? I'd like to introduce you to the department heads. First, microphone's over here. First off, I want to thank Michelle Turchaney, who's our special events coordinator, and she will be our MC for the night. And let's start over here with Phil.
Phil Talon, Planning and Development.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Kurt Cook, Building.
Mike Unger, Sanitary District.
Owana Miller, Community Development.
Scott Mitchell, your Sewer Department. Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Sharon Daniels, Personnel.
Johnny Perez, Sanitation.
Gary Gleason, Street Department. Kelly Crooney, Code Enforcement.
Mylon Krasinski, Port Authority.
Brian Miller, Police Department.
Ed Cruz, I want to introduce Hammond Water Department back there. Please feel free to come forward, Ed. Oh, look at that. There's a chair right over here.
Tom Daverton, Chief of Staff, and I apologize if I seem like I'm out of breath. I rode my bike here from Robertsdale. So it's a great night to be outside. Not a great night riding a bike into that headwind.
Stan Desotny, City Engineer.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Kathy Kasmerzak, Recycling.
Alexius Barber, United Neighborhoods, Inc.
April Etheridge from Hammond Legal Aid Clinic.
Africa Tarver, College Bound. Carmen Saniawa, Hammond Housing.
Donna Muda, Hammond Parks and Recreation.
Mona Campbell, Controller's Office.
Michelle Turchiani, Hammond Park Department.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Do you have a question, Michelle?
Our first question is about a library. I'm concerned about the closing of Hammond's only main library located on Sibley Street.
Okay, question there here, or do they want to follow up? Well, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm concerned as well. That's why we're working with the library. At the time, I thought we were working together, but what we're going to do is approach the state about consolidating the Lake County library system and the Hammond library system, at least, maybe even bigger than that, because I've talked to Mayor Gary about that as well, and she seemed like there may be some interest there as well. But we're talking about merging into the Lake County library system, and by doing so, saving Hammond taxpayer money. You know, the way I view libraries, and I think a lot of people feel this way, and maybe some people don't. Obviously, some people don't, but it's not so much what the building says when you walk in there. Hammond Public Library, the important thing is that library remains open. I think that's a fair statement, right? If it said Lake County Library, Hammond branch, would that really matter to you at the end of the day? I think a lot of people feel that way, and when you look at what it costs to have a Lake County Library or a Hammond Library, it's literally twice as expensive currently, and the library wants to make it 3 times as expensive. It's 8 cents per 100 in the Lake County library system, and it's like around 16 cents per 100 to have a Hammond library, and they want to get up to 22. So, and that literally, it doesn't sound like a lot of money when you say cents per 100, but in a budget, that's literally $2 million. So we could say it costs us a couple $1 million extra. Well, they're proposing, currently it costs us $1 million change extra to have a Hammond Public Library. So, you know, and I'd like to point out that this is, the Hammond Public Library is run not just by the city of Hammond, it's run by the school city, which has 3 appointments to it, and it's also run by Lake County. The commissioner and the council have appointees on there as well. In fact, the school city has 3, Lake County commissioner and councilor has 2, and the city of Hammond has 2 as well. 1 from the mayor, 1 from the council. So when you really think about it, what's going on right now is the library is approaching the city for 100% of the bailout, and really we only have 2 out of 7 members on the board. Haven't heard the school city say that they want to provide any money to help bail out the library, even though they have 3 appointees, and I haven't heard the county talking about it either. And that's not really fair. So I think the approach that we're taking is the same as yours, ma'am. We want this library to remain open, and I think we could help by merging the 2 together, and that's what we're going to try to do this next legislative session. It's a complicated issue, and it's been spun 100 different ways already, but I want you to know that that's something we all want. We want that library to remain open, but it's not really fair how it's being portrayed. It's being portrayed like the council and the mayor said, no, shut it down. That's not the case at all. Okay? Thank you. I'm sure there's more questions about the library. This is a big topic, so. Right, all right. Hold on 2 seconds, would you? You have a very loud voice. No, it's for the TV, sir.
As I understand it, the library money is not money that we're giving the library. It's not a bailout. That, in fact, the money's already been allocated to the library, that all we've got to do is, it's a rubber stamp type thing where the council, all they have to do is say, yeah, spend it, go ahead. But it's not spending it. Who gets that money that's already been allocated? If the library doesn't use it, who uses it?
Thank you. Great question. What's gone on is everybody has been affected by the property tax caps, right? And I don't know how you voted, sir, but I'll tell you that 75% of Hoosiers voted for the property tax caps. Fact. I was one of the 25%, being honest with you. Now, what's happened since those tax caps went into effect all across Indiana is it's affected government. Obviously, that's where your money went, to fund government. And the caps come in and they say, we're saving you millions, and that's good, sir. But where is that millions is coming from? It's coming from cities and counties and library boards and, you know, redevelopment. But I'm getting to your question. This is not like a yes or no. This is a complicated issue, okay? Now, what's gone on is the library's been affected, and it's even more pronounced in Lake County because in 91 out of 92 counties, there's a local option income tax. 91 out of 92. We're the only one. That's a good thing from the taxpayer's perspective. We don't want another tax mayor. I understand. 91 other counties in Indiana do it. We're the only ones that haven't. And because we haven't, the state froze our tax levies at 2008 level. Now, this is all the stuff that's gone on in the background. Now, sir, I don't know what you do, what your line of work is, but a lot of people in this room, if you haven't had a raise since 2008, you'd be sort of salty. Our government hasn't had a raise since 2008. Our budget is frozen because we won't pass that tax. Now, that's the background, okay? The library's been affected by this. They're their own separate taxing unit, and they've been hammered by this. Just like the city has, just like the schools have, just like the county has. We're all frozen. The townships, everybody's hurting right now. And the library is as well, just like the buses that went away, just like everything right now. Now, the library's been affected by the tax caps, and they want more money. They want more than what the tax caps allow them. And if we gave them more than what the tax caps allow, it has to come out of somewhere, sir, because we're capped. Everybody's pushed up against the limit. So they wanted an extra $800,000. If we gave them an extra $800,000, we would literally have to find $800,000 from these departments up here that are subject to the same exact laws as the library, by the way. We're affected just as badly as they are. If I gave them $800,000, and the council did, I'd have to come call into the police, fire, water, or not water, excuse me, just taxpayer-provided entities and have to find $800,000. And that's not fair. And also they're asking for the full bailout to come from us, which is also unfair. Anyway, sorry, long-winded answer, but it's complicated. All right, any other questions on the water? All right, excuse me. Gosh, I got water on the brain. Once you come up here, I'm like discombobulated. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if we do, which I am totally opposed to merging with the county.
Okay.
One, we don't want it, they don't want it.
Okay.
And you know they don't want
Why?
it.
I mean, we don't want it. Why?
People can't read.
If we could keep the library doors open, what does it matter who provides the services, ma'am?
Can you guarantee, if you manage to talk the people downstate into forcing Lake County to merge with the Hammond Public Library, which is in excess of 100 years old of serving this community, that we will be able to stay in the same facility, same size, same services that we have right now?
I would hope so. I wouldn't be in charge of that.
For our kids.
Okay. I appreciate your opinion, ma'am. All right, any other questions on the Lake County Library? Hammond Library. Complicated issue, heated issue. I would like to point out again, there's 7 people on the library board. 3 are appointed by Lake County government. Oh, excuse me, by the school city of Hammond. 2 are appointed by Lake County government, and 2 are appointed by the city of Hammond. That's 2/7 is appointed by the city of Hammond, and they want 100% of the bailout to come from this unit of government. Why isn't the school city involved? They have 2 appointees. Excuse me, 3 appointees. Why isn't the county involved? They have 2 appointees. That's not fair. And why are you paying twice as much for library services just so you can walk in and it says Hammond Public Library? Why? Is it really worth that? Or if it says Lake County and your tax rate drops in half, isn't that what we're supposed to do, is find savings in government? So why wouldn't Hammond want to merge with Lake County? I got an idea. If we merge with Lake County, maybe all the bosses at the Hammond Library their future would be jeopardized. Maybe they would lose their job. That may be a reason why Hammond Library doesn't want to merge. Maybe that's the reason why Lake County doesn't want to merge, because if you can't have 2 bosses, right, that's the kind of savings we're going to see. And who cares as long as we can keep the door open if it says Hammond Public Library or Lake County. I think the most important thing is we've got to try to keep the door open. And I still only have 2/7 of the appointing power, so I can't even control this entity. I could urge them out of my 2, but in reality, it's the school, city, and the county that are calling the shots there. So I'm sorry if you don't like my answer, but yes, ma'am.
I think there is an issue of philosophy here as well. A library isn't just a library. I am a patron of the Lake County Public Library System, and I know that you are not allowed to use their community room unless you have a tax identification number. I am not a nonprofit. I am not part of a nonprofit organization. I wanted to show one of their films in their community. With open admission policies, I was not allowed to. I think you need to consider very carefully what underlying rules apply to the people who might be using that facility.
Ma'am,
Yes.
you're talking to the wrong person. We don't run the Lake County. We don't run the Hammond Library. We don't run it.
If you merge two systems...
We still wouldn't run it. It would be run under the Lake County Library System.
I realize that.
The city of Hammond doesn't run the libraries.
I am trying to talk about the philosophy that is in force in the Lake County system.
Mhm.
Is that something, is that the view that you have of the function of a library? If I'm paying taxes, do I really need to have a tax identification number in order to use the facilities for which my taxes are being used?
If I did run the library, I think that's sort of a silly policy. But
Awful.
and I agree with you, okay? But at the end of the day, I don't know how much clout that carries with the Lake County Library or the Hammond Public Library, because we don't run the libraries. I have 0 appointees to Lake County Library. I have 1 direct appointee out of 7. But, and quite frankly, you asked how I feel about the library. I haven't been to a library in a long, long time, and I read every single day, okay?
I love the library.
I'm glad, ma'am. I appreciate that, okay? But, you know, a lot of people don't use libraries, especially younger people, don't use libraries as much anymore as they used to. Barnes and Nobles are closing. They're for profit. Borders are closing. They're for profit. They can't keep a store open anymore. Society is
That's not the
changing.
issue. The
I just,
issue-
no. Newsweek, I'm an avid subscriber of Newsweek. I read it all the time. They just informed us they're going out of print, I think, next year. Never going to print another Newsweek. Never going to print another Newsweek. These are all related issues. I hate to say it, but the library isn't what it was 50 years ago.
Newsweek and Borders are for profit. They didn't ask me to contribute my tax money to that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is you're getting yourself into a deal where public monies are going to be restricted in a way that some people should at least know about. They don't have to like it or dislike
I agree,
it.
ma'am. And you'll have that opportunity, ma'am. In fact, I see you're wearing Representative Candelaria Reardon's shirt. She'll be one of the people that are deciding this issue. So, okay, thank you. Library. I know there's more questions than 2. Over here, ma'am. Could we wait for Michelle? She's right in the middle. Feel free if you guys want to jump in, you know? Department heads are quiet today. All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
There's a meeting Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at the Hammond Library, their board meeting, which might answer a lot of questions. I think it's at 5:30, I'm not sure.
I appreciate it. Do you want to say that again for the audience?
It's a board meeting and it's in the basement of the library.
Great.
So they might be able to answer a lot of questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for pointing that out. Any other questions on the library? Yeah. Oh, right up in front. We're making Michelle like run all over the room today. Next, we'll get a question from way in the back.
Can I stand up or sit?
It's okay, ma'am. You do whatever you want. Okay.
Could I talk?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to tell you, my name is Sylvia Silver, and I live at 7336 Jarnakey Avenue, and nothing's been done to the street or the sidewalks. We've got chopped up sidewalk. When it rains, I have puddles of water in front, and I'm living there since 1949.
Okay. 7336 Jarnakey.
I just had to come tonight to tell you that.
Okay, you know what?
And a lot of the houses around different neighborhoods, they're done. They look good.
Okay. Stan is the man when it comes to things like that. Well, this is our city engineer. He's been a city engineer in Hammond for pretty close to as long as I've been alive, so he knows his stuff. Pretty close, I said.
I took your information down. We'll take a look at the street. I I don't think it's on the list right now, but we do streets every year.
Well, 74 have been done, and across from 173rd and Columbia Avenue, all the homes around, and we've been sitting there a long, long time.
Right, we've done about 60% of the streets in the city have been rebuilt over the past. Councilman, because your councilman has to help us.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. I want to make sure there's any more questions on the library issue before we close this topic out. Wow. Okay. I was hoping it was over with. Sure. What's that? No, it's okay. This is what Mayor's Night's all about.
There's not enough money in these people's budget. How can they build these brand new, huge libraries they're building?
Great question. That was pre-tax caps. That was pre-tax caps. Okay, and
Mr. Mayor, my way.
So then,
I voted for the tax caps.
Okay.
I don't want to be voted out.
Listen,
I want to live in my home.
I understand totally. Okay, let me get back to that. And I apologize, and I'm glad. You know what? We can make it work in Lake County. There are options in Lake County that aren't being taken advantage of.
But can you explain to me why they're building these huge new libraries now?
Great
And
question.
they're wanting to close ours. I
But
don't
you're right. Well, you're talking about where? You're talking about outside of Hammond?
Like Griffith?
Crown Point just built a brand new library. Griffith just built, but these are Lake County libraries. And our Hammond library is a totally independent system. And we did build a big brand new library also.
Yeah.
But that was before the tax caps went into effect. Okay? Tom, did you have something?
No, I was just going to clarify that the libraries that are being built by the Lake County Library System, and right now you don't pay taxes to the Lake County Library System, you pay to the Hammond Library System. I also want to point out that we keep on talking about having to live within a certain means, and a year ago the mayor and I met with the library board, and they showed us at the time their financial situation. The city of Hammond is in good financial shape because they've made cuts for a number of years without cutting services. And the library board, to be honest with you, the numbers they shared with us last year, they had only started to make cuts, and I think that's part of the problem. I'm not trying to blame them, I'm just saying facts are facts. When they came in, they showed us why they had to close the two remaining branches, and it was because they had not made a lot of cuts. Now, I know that the current director said at the city council meeting that they were in the process of making cuts and that they made cuts over the last year, and that's understandable. But once again, the library system is separate from us. It is not part of the city of Hammond. It is an issue that the city has been pulled into because, as the mayor said, there are tax caps and there's a limit on how much money we can actually take in and spend and divide up. And that's how the city of Hammond got involved. We don't have control of the libraries.
And I hate to say it, libraries are going to be a thing of the past with the internet and everything else.
Thank you.
Kids aren't even going to have school books pretty soon.
And in fact, there's a couple of schools. Well, Bishop Knoll, for a couple of years, had zero school books, and then they went back to the policy. But it's definitely 10 years from now, I bet you're right. And quite frankly, I read just as much as anybody I know. I read every single day. I read a book almost every single day. I read the newspaper every single day, multiple. I mean, I wasn't really raised going into libraries. I was always raised with a book, but that's just me, and I realize a lot of people are in different circumstances. I understand that, okay? I have a tendency to agree with you that I think that libraries like Borders, which kills me. I love Borders. It's my favorite store.
I love Borders to go there.
I love Borders. I love Barnes & Noble. I love going to those stores, and they can't keep the doors open. Why? Because we all got the stupid Kindles now, and the Kindles are replacing books and magazines and iPads.
Do you think
As
the
I
Times
just
will be
got done
around?
ordering my new one.
Do you think that Hammond Times, the Times will be around in another?
I think what you're going to see is eventually, the Times is already starting a mobile phone presence. I think what you're going to see is them start to shift away from print because it's expensive. They have the big machines and all that. They can just start shifting into online and charging you to use their internet access. I think newspaper, waking up in the morning with ink on your hand is going to be a thing of the past.
Like the milkman.
Like the milkman, right?
Like video stores.
Like video stores, right? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we've heard your explanation, and I use the term very loosely,
Okay.
for why we can't afford our library. But why won't the city council approve the release of the $140,000 from the cash sale of the Hayward branch? That's money in hand. That's not coming out of your budget. It doesn't have to come out of anybody's pocket, anybody else's department.
All right. Well, ma'am, we already talked about this issue. I mean, yeah, I did. Everybody's subject to the tax caps. If we gave them additional, has to come from someplace. So I appreciate your concern. Ma'am, this is not library night out. This is mayor's night out. We're going to focus on a topic. You've had multiple chances to address me about the same issue, and I'm going to go someplace else. And if nobody has a question. Okay, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Is there any other questions on this issue? Okay, that'd be great. I appreciate it. Any questions on library? I hate to have it break down like this. If you have a question, I'm willing to answer it. So, all right, let's move on.
This is about a bus. Was there ever a settlement for the bus accident in 2007 when a woman was killed by Woodmar? If so, did this contribute to Hammond losing the bus service?
No, it did not at all. I'm pretty sure, even though it was a Hammond bus that did it at the time, I remember the accident very clearly. It was a grotesque accident. She slipped underneath the bus and it ran over her. I know there was a lawsuit. I don't know what the terms of it, and I don't think we were a party. I think we have insurance in cases like that. I know we have self-insurance, but in a wrongful death situation like that, we usually have stop-loss protection. Do I have Chris Cantor?
She's still important.
Oh, who? Oh, April? Well, I don't know if April would know.
She's still Chris is
All right, anyway. It'd be nice if we had some people here. Mr. Chief of Staff. Maybe we'll talk to our controller and our city attorney. So, anyway.
In Chris's case, I can give the explanation. We have city court on Wednesday evening, so if the court call is hung over, and I think it's...
I was at City Hall before I got here.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We do have stop-loss protection in cases like this, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So, and quite frankly, it has nothing to do with why we lost the buses. Why we lost the buses, I'm going to go back and I'm going to give the same explanation I talked about, is we voted for tax caps. They went into effect. They slashed millions from budgets, like the buses, the RBA system, slashed millions out of their budget, and then they were frozen because Lake County doesn't have a local option income tax, which resulted in gaping holes in their system. And quite frankly, if we were going to charge everybody to break even, we would have to charge you probably $10 a trip. We were charging $1.50. And of course it's subsidized. Of course it's a money loser. But in this environment, there's a lot of people out there that are hurting. We just had a young lady indicate earlier she hasn't had a raise since 2007. She sees an empty bus drive by and it makes her mad. Then she calls elected officials like myself and other people and says, this is ridiculous. You're wasting money on buses. And I'm not talking about you, ma'am. I'm not. Absolutely not. I'm using your example. I'm saying this multiplied by 1,000. Okay? And I'm certainly not. I apologize if you took it that way. But that's how we lost it. We lost it because there was no money, and quite frankly, the will of the people wasn't there to support it. And they went away. And, there's people that are hurting because of it. Absolutely. There's people that are affected by it. That's why I fought in the State House to try to get this reversed, and the Republican majority simply wouldn't hear it. And I'm not getting political during Mayor's Night. That's a fact. We had a situation in Marion County where the Marion County bus system wanted to get funded. They wanted a referendum. Just give the voters of Marion County a chance to vote on whether or not they wanted buses. What's the big deal? If the voters don't want it, they would vote it down, right? Not only did they say no to our request to fund it with casino revenue, they said no to the referendum in Marion County. Not even giving the voters a chance to fund buses if they wanted to. That's the environment we're going into in Indianapolis. And your mayor is a Democrat, and I get treated differently in the State House, and I'm not asking you to vote me out because of that. We're trying to change the system ourselves. But that's a hostile atmosphere in Indianapolis right now. So it's a hostile atmosphere in politics now. It's not just in Indianapolis. It's everywhere. And it needs to end. So anyway, I'd like to take a second to recognize the council people in attendance. First off, again, I want to thank Council President and 5th District Councilman Michael Pinker. From Hammond's 4th District, Councilman Bill Emerson. Thank you very much, Councilman. She's also from the 4th District, but she's at large. Councilwoman Janet Venez. And Councilman at large, Dan Spitali. Thank you very much, Councilman. And did I miss anybody? Okay, let's go on. Are we done with the library issue, or are we going to keep rolling on this one? I'm more than willing to move on. Let's move on. All right.
Moving on. Public safety on Cleveland Street, rules and policy that doesn't work.
That sounds like a Chief Miller question.
What's the question?
This young man over here, Chief.
What it's about is the neighborhood's got gangbangers there now. Remember where there were those 3 people were shot? Well, the other day the neighbor found some more cartridges. He took it up to Douglas Street and gave it to whoever was there. He thought somebody might make out a report. Oh, he says, I'll give you 2 phone numbers to call. That's his only involvement that he wanted.
What address are we talking about? What address is?
2734 Cleveland Street.
Okay, I'll look into it. I'm not familiar with the situation.
Yeah, it looks like gangbangers and drugs are there now.
Okay.
And they just throw their trash, their beer bottles all over the place. Play music till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Do you call us when they play music? I would encourage you to do so.
I will. Okay. But I don't know which number to call now.
I can give it to. I can give you. I'll give you a card with our non-emergency numbers.
Okay. All right.
And in the other in 2700 Cleveland, I'll be more than glad to look at all of our narcotics and gang look at it also.
I've been there 72 years. We haven't had any problems. But these people moved in, and they just have. Evidently, they don't teach civics in the Hammond school system anymore. When I went to school, my rights stopped where your rights began, and they have no respect for anybody.
Okay, we'll address the situation.
And the other thing is, with the Selly rule, Your Honor, I'm disabled, and I requested a handicap parking space, but they said because I have a driveway that they can't put it up. But these gangbangers park right in the middle of my driveway, so they walk right a straight line to the walkway across the street. And I had them block my driveway halfway. I called the police department. Police officer told me to drive across my lawn. Now, why should I ruin my lawn that I fertilize and grow so this gangbangers can save 4 steps? Rules don't always work for everything.
All right, sir. I'll be more than glad to talk to you after the meeting. I'll address your concerns.
All right. Hey, before she walks out, I want to thank Ms. Michelle Ondas, the principal here at Gabbett High School. She's a second-generation Hammond principal. Her father is also a principal. Thank you very much. Wanted to get you before you ran out, so thank you very much for letting us use it. I appreciate it. All right, let's move on.
Okay, Nobel Peace Prize winner Laureates drafted a Manifesto 2000 based on key components of the Culture of Peace initiative. One aspect of this manifesto addresses the root cause of violence, being the fuel that stokes the fire of physical violence. How do you, as mayor of the city of Hammond, demonstrate the need to educate and address personal responsibility to end passive violence behavior as a means of moving from a culture of violence to a culture of peace?
That sounds like a Chief Miller question to me. Chief?
What she's referring to is active violence is the old-fashioned punch in the head, where passive violence would be insulting, disrespectful behavior, teasing, things like that. Yes, that does turn into active violence, and yes, that's a problem. I think it's something that needs to be addressed in the home and kind of at schools. A lot of our schools have started non-bullying programs and things along that line, and that's the kind of programs that we need to combat the passive violence.
I second that. Good
I
job,
do,
Chief.
I do agree with you, Chief. I posed that question.
Your voice, I don't see you.
You're behind the camera, Chief.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do agree with you, Chief, and I do agree with you. And this question was actually for all of our leaders, because it begins at the top. And you know, just with the mayor saying that it was a Chief Miller question, really speaks to the fact that this program that you so eloquently pointed out should be in the school district, should be in every aspect of our government and our environment. And speaking to the gentleman's concerns, just that alone, I believe it should be something that should be instituted throughout the community.
I agree.
Couldn't agree with you more.
All right, thank you for the question, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right. Next question.
Now that my schedule has changed at work, I am unable to contribute to the arts and crafts during normal hours. Is there another place to drop off so I don't have to throw away? I'm an avid recycler.
I'd like to introduce Kathy Kazmierzak, former 5th District City Councilwoman, and now she's the head of the Hammond Recycling.
Okay, there is a area called the Environmental Center that's on Calumet Avenue. So you can drop that off, but you can also let me know if you'd love to go ahead and drop that off over as far as the crafts, because that's where we drop those off for the not-for-profit areas. So we'd be glad to pick that up. Oh, I don't know who posed that question. Oh, okay.
As far as the environmental center goes, their hours, my hours are 8:30 to 5:30 at work.
Okay.
So there's no way even for that. So I was wondering, like, is there like one of the fire departments or something that would be willing to, you know, I hate to throw things away.
Okay, for the arts and crafts, all I would say is, I mean, we start earlier than that. We start at 5:30 in the morning that our gates are open.
Drop something off?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could, if you'd like to drop off, our gates are open at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
The other question is, like, I a lot of times drop things off at the dumpsters in Dyer. They have the waste management by the fire department in Dyer there. They collect 1 through 7 for plastic. Does Hammond do 1 through 7, or is it still just 1 and 2?
Well, no, we only do at this point 1 and 2 because those are the ones that we have a broker for, so that we could go and get money for the taxpayers. The ones that have those dumpsters, that's from the Lake County Solid Waste District. Whether or not they actually get money for that, I have no idea. That's their program. But the ones that the city does, we actually get money for. We sell all the recyclables that we get from the citizens. So that's the reason at this point. But we're always looking for ways of getting more. That's the reason, like for the glass, we used to only take the clear and the brown, and then now we're able to find a market for that, and now we take all different colors of glass. So we're always looking for something as far as marketability. As far as even the types of plastic, if we're able to find something as far as, maybe it might be the yogurt cartons or something, that sometimes is used over there at the Environmental Center for crafts. So it might not be something that we collect and recycle, but we use them for crafts and take them over there.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks, Kathy. Great question. Any follow-up on the recycling program? Great. Next.
Hammond Waterworks, currently they accept electronic payments.
I knew we'd have a Waterworks question.
But do not have a budget plan like NIPSCO. I personally would prefer balancing 3/4, early 4th. Any plans to change it?
You know, before Ed jumps in here, it's funny because we've obviously been doing a lot with water lately, especially across the border in Illinois. We were talking to a community the other day, Sauk Village. We pay, Ed, 50 cents per 1,000 gallons? 46 cents, you're turned off. 46 cents per 1,000 gallons here.
All right.
These communities in Illinois pay, by the time the water gets to their house, $5, $6, $11 in Sauk Village. Their water payments are $500 a month. So it's crazy. Ed, back me up.
Correct.
I mean, so when you talk about here, when you talk about, you know, a budget plan here, one of the great advantages of living in the city of Hammond is, you know, our low water price. So Ed.
Mayor, as far as the budget plan, I mean, we'll work out arrangements with any Hammond resident over the water bill. I mean, if they're unemployed, have situations, financial situations where they can't make their monthly bill, all they have to do is come into the office. We'll arrange a payment plan and they'll work it out.
So you do have people.
We do that day in and day out.
Right. Question out there on the water department. Yes, ma'am. Hey.
Everybody else, this is crazy.
Why can't you debit it out?
Automatically. You have to call them and tell them to do it. When did they start it? I've been in there 3 times and they said no. They told me no. I want it automatically taken out of my account and they will not do it.
Okay. Hold on. Let's leave it to the CEO of the water.
We are working on automatic debit right now. You can do online bill pay. The bills change every month. I know NIPSCO has that arrangement, but once again, there'll be a convenience fee to do an automatic debit, and most people don't want to pay the convenience fee. To use a credit card, there's a convenience fee. Most people don't want to pay the convenience fee for the credit card. If you pay your property taxes at Lake County, there's a convenience fee to use a credit card. I mean, we try and make it as easy as possible. We include an envelope in the bill. You can pay online. You can call in and use a credit card. We're working on the debit. That is, there's an issue with the debit. And once again, automatic debit would involve a convenience fee, and most people don't want to pay it.
All right, thank you very much, Ed. Questions on the water department? Yes. Oh, Councilwoman Venez.
Mine, I pay my account, it's taken out of my checking account. Is that different than a debit account?
That's not automatic debit. I mean, the automatic debit is where you set up an account, your bill for your account on a monthly basis is automatically sent to the bank. If you use the bank to pay, you have auto bill pay, and it's a different.
I'm certain I went through the water department.
No, we don't have.
I did it online. Well, I don't know who I've been paying everything.
Thankfully, it's not very much, Councilwoman.
Thank you for paying your bill. Anyway, it's getting paid.
All right. This is a spunky crowd tonight. Any other questions on the water department? Hey, Ed, you know what? While we're at it, I wanted to talk a little bit about this anyway. Could you talk a little bit about the situation? Are you comfortable enough talking about what's going on with Cal City, Chicago Heights? Because there's some people concerned that, they read about what's going on with Chicago Heights and they think it's going to affect day-to-day operations at the water department. So.
Sure, Mayor. We've had a contract with the city of Chicago Heights, Illinois, where they had a rate of 57 cents a thousand for the last 30 years, with no rate increase, no rate modification, flat 57 cents. That contract expires November 22nd, and the city of Chicago Heights filed a complaint with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, asking them to establish the new rate for the contract going forward, and also put in place, make a ruling that Hammond cannot discontinue water service to Chicago Heights, and that the commission should get involved in setting a new rate for the next 20 years going forward. They also gone to the federal court system, filed a complaint in the federal court for a temporary restraining order, keeping the city of Hammond from discontinuing water service to Chicago Heights. So we're going to be in court next week on the restraining order, and we're going to be at the IURC, I believe, in 2 weeks, where they will hear the case.
So why is it so important? Why are we going through all this litigation over this case, Ed?
Well, the city of Chicago currently is charging $2.51 a thousand. They've kind of created a market that is lucrative for the city of Hammond. I mean, we have all these wholesale customers in Illinois. We sell to Chicago Heights, Ford Heights, South Chicago Heights, Thornton, Glenwood, Lansing, Linwood, Calumet City, Burnham, and it's just it's created a situation where water is expensive in Illinois, and we're able to sell it and discount it under Chicago's rate and keep the Hammond water system going, keep the rates at 46 cents per Hammond residents, and it's the best possible best possible deal for water in the state of Indiana.
And let me tell you also why this is important. Okay, Ed brought it up, and that's great. Obviously, we want you to have low water rates. We all live here as well. Okay, but this is really important when you're talking about business, because business uses lots of water, and if they're going to build a big plant anywhere, and they look in Sauk Village right now, and Sauk Village is charging them $10 for 1,000 gallons, and they look at Hammond, Indiana, we're charging 46 cents per 1,000 gallons. That's a big cost. That's a big cost savings. That's just one more reason not to do business in Illinois and come over here to Indiana. So if we could get revenue from these contracts and keep our water rates low enough to be able to provide, it could result in increased economic development, obviously better quality of life for us here in Hammond, and quite frankly, a lot of communities are using our money and using our water and making money off of it. Our neighbor to the south, for instance, Munster, I hate to put them on the spot, they grab our water, pay 70 cents?
$2.93
But
a
then
thousand.
70 cents they get it for, right?
52 cents.
52 cents, and they turn around and they sell it to their residents for
$2.93 a 1,000 gallons.
500% increase. That's just one community. So it's millions of dollars for Munster. They take our wholesale water, their residents think they pay $3 for water. No, you don't. Your community gets it for 50 cents. And they jack up the price 500%, and they give it to you. You know, we don't do that to you in Hammond. We don't do that to our community. And I don't think it's fair that they're taking our water and jacking it up so high. I don't think it's fair. And so we have an opportunity in Illinois. We have an opportunity in Illinois where we could sell water at the market rate, which is being set by the mayor of Chicago right now. He's charging $2.50 per 1,000 gallons. We're charging $2.20. And if Chicago Heights wants to sue us and doesn't want to be our customer, I don't think the federal court is going to force us into a contract. I don't think the federal court has the power to force us into a contract. I hope not. The question is this: can we cut them off? Of course not. We've already given them an extension on our original. They were running out in November, right?
Correct.
Literally a few weeks from now. And we gave them an extension till March. What's their option? They could dig wells like Sauk Village and pay $11 for 1,000 gallons. That's probably not going to work. They could connect up to Chicago water system, and it'll cost them millions to connect to the Chicago water system. You think Mayor Emanuel is going to negotiate? He's saying it's $2.50. It's going to $3 next year, buddy. This is about they're trying to negotiate through the courts with us. They're trying to force us to settle for a lower amount. We're giving them 30% lower amount as it is.
Correct.
This is millions of dollars for Hammond residents. This is millions of dollars that's going to keep our water rates low and allow us to develop industry and economic development in the city. It's very, very important. That's why we're fighting it out, and I hope you understand that. This is the future for Hammond. Water. A lot of people talk about gaming. Gaming's nice. Water is our future, guys. That's where it is for Hammond, and we're in a lucky, lucky position to be where we are. So this is important. So I hope you guys understand what we're trying to do. Any questions on that? Yes, thanks, Jerry.
Mayor, I have another water question.
Sure.
My last water bill has been raised $30 from normal. Please explain or help. I am a World War II and Korean vet. My only income is Social Security and rent from attached apartments.
Ed? I don't know what the rate is, but it would be a lot worse if you lived south, but whatever. I mean, okay, we'll go into this. Ed?
During the last 30 days, we've been auditing some of our bills where multi-unit individuals have been receiving discounts on their garbage disposals that where they were receiving exemptions for 2 units where they should have only had 1. That $30 increase means that they must have been receiving a discount for 2 units instead of 1. And that was a bill adjustment. And if you want to bring the bill into the office, I will go over the bill with you and explain exactly why there was an increase on the bill. That could be the only way there's been a $30 increase over a month, and it's because because you're receiving an exemption that you shouldn't have received, and that happens from time to time.
Thank you, Ed. Is there a follow-up on that? Okay. Water is the topic. Oh.
Yeah, I got, my last bill was increased by $30. Now, I do have one tenant. There's 2 people, and I was charged a $50 garbage bill for 2 people. I was wondering how that could happen.
Well, like I said, if you'd like to bring the bill into the office, I can explain it to you, but because you had a tenant and you were receiving the senior discount on your garbage disposal side for 2 units, where you should have only received the exemption for 1 unit, that was an adjustment, a one-time adjustment, and it goes, regardless of how far back you received that extra exemption, I mean, it's a one-time adjustment to your bill. The second unit will will be coming off because the second unit is not entitled to that senior exemption on the garbage side. And once again, if you'd like to come into the office, with the bill, I can explain it to you. But that's a one-time adjustment to the bill for an exemption that you were given probably for many years, where for both units, where you should only have received it for 1.
Okay, so it sounds like.
When there's only 2 people.
Right. Hey, sir, could we do this after maybe?
Using the garbage. And
Okay.
I don't even use 1 can out there. And they're charging me $50 for that. Even though it's a duplex.
All right, sir, could you do me a favor? Hey, sir. Okay. All right, sorry about that, sir. Hey, mister, we're trying to, if it's like more of a one-on-one issue and it seems like it's dragging on, we try to bounce it until the end of the meeting. You could, Mr. Cruz is going to be here right after the meeting's over. You could come up and talk to him, and we could address this one-on-one if that's okay, sir. All right? Thank you. We do charge senior rates, though, and we do try to do everything we can to provide for our seniors. I want you to know that. In fact, we have a senior tax rebate program that a lot of seniors are getting rebate checks from the city right now. We do try to do everything we can to help our seniors, sir, and I'm really sorry that you feel this is unfair. So we could try to deal with that one-on-one after the meeting. Is that all right, Ed? All right, thank you, sir. All right.
Okay, flood insurance, please.
Great.
Comment on the letter you sent out last week concerning flood insurance.
Great question. I'm going to pass to the experts in a second, but I do want to say this has been a nice, over the last 9 years while I've been your mayor, I took over a city that all along the Little Calumet River, from basically the 7,400 blocks south, everybody in the city that was 7,400 blocks south, from State Line all the way out to Klein Avenue, if you were 7,400 or south, you were in the flood zone, for the most part, all along the stretch of the Little Cal. When I took over, Robertsdale, all around the Water Gardens and across, actually, Calumet Avenue over into Robertsdale section of Hammond was in the flood zone because of the Wolf Lake project. And over the last 9 years, we've systematically taken it down to where we are now, which is virtually 90% of the original people we took over are out of the flood zone, maybe even higher than 90%. However, some people, especially close to where we are right now, are still in the flood zone. And if you're one of them, you're not patting us on the back. I understand that. But I do want to explain, we've done a lot already. We've got a lot of work done through the Little Calumet River Basin Authority. We got a lot of work done when we did the Cabela's levees over here. We got a lot of work done by hiring Sivash Beck, an engineer from Christopher Burke Engineering, who used to work at FEMA. And he knows how to get areas out of the flood zone. We hired this guy for the last 4 years, Dan?
Almost 5 years, because he worked on Lake George and Wolf Lake floodplain.
5 years. And every year, it seems like he gets progress for us. Every year, somebody else is coming out of the floodplain. Well, this year, everybody west of White Oak, west of White Oak Avenue, all the way out to State Line, 7,400 south, for the most part, are out of the floodplain. The areas that are not, Schleicher, 7,400, 7,500 blocks, basically the entire neighborhood. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. In the very south portion of Forest Avenue, right over there, literally the extreme southern edge of Forest Avenue, 7,600 block. And it's spotty over there. Some houses are in, some houses are out. Okay? But Schleicher, for the most part, still in the flood zone. Now, we have our goal to get that out sooner rather than later. And one of the things that we can do to get that area out is finish that project along River Drive and put in storm sewers all along River Drive from Columbia all the way out to White Oak. By doing that and repetitioning the federal government, we have a real good opportunity to get you out of the flood zone. And it's something that I'm taking very seriously as your mayor, and I know I have the support of the councilman, both the 4th and 5th, to get you out. That's the next step, and I apologize it's not there right now, but it's not. But we're doing everything we can, and we have to go from where we left off on the project this summer, which is basically halfway down River Drive, and complete it and get it out to White Oak, and then work with our great consultant who used to work for FEMA, and we petition the federal government to get you out. Okay? I'm going to check out, and I'm going to pass to the expert, Stan Dostotny, and anybody else up here. I wish Don Novak were up here, because he did a lot of work to get us out.
I've got all the stats, Tom.
Thank you, Stan.
BT, before Tom McDermott, there were 7,000 homes in the floodplain in the city of Hammond. That was 14% of all the homes. Right now, we have gotten that number down. There's only 475 homes left.
So it's
There's approximately 100 homes in the Dowling Park neighborhood, north of Dowling Park, and on Alexander Avenue. There's about 150 homes in Robertsdale, and there's about 225 homes in the area between Northcott and State Line. I sat down last week with the Army Corps of Engineers. We've got a closure structure designed so that we could prevent from getting flooded from Calumet City. They're going to start constructing. It's a concrete block system. We are also signing an agreement with Christopher Burke at Thursday's Board of Works meeting. He's going to do survey work, additional survey work, looking at the properties that are still in the floodplain for this area. He is confident he can get a significantly larger number out working on this backwater flooding issue, which is an issue where water gets trapped on the backside of the levee. The homes in the Forest Avenue neighborhood, there's only a few scattered ones that are actually sitting exceptionally low. I'm going to stay here after the meeting. If anybody wants to look at the maps, I've got specific addresses of people that are still in, and I've got all the information on all the floodplain work that's been done over the last 5 years.
Thank you, Stan. And any questions on this? I know it's a big topic, all right? Yes.
So when can we expect to be out of
You're in
flood?
Schleicher, right?
I'm in
You're
Schleicher.
one of the unlucky ones. I apologize.
I mean, you just finished up to Bertram there.
Right.
And now
We need to
when-
finish.
When will Bertram to Northcott be done?
Next construction season.
Which is?
Stan's looking at me, Councilman's looking at me. We
Yeah,
have
well,
to
that's
get
up to the councilman. You know,
Yeah,
that
but you
section
know
of
what?
street needs to
This is
get
an
funded.
important one, and I know that the councilman, maybe him and I could team on this one, because this is an important project, and the sooner the better.
That is a key piece of this puzzle, because that extends the storm sewer all the way over to Northcott. One of the issues FEMA had was that once the flap gate closes on that levee, water could get trapped on the backside and then flood those homes. That was one of the reasons why they wouldn't let everybody get out of the floodplain.
That flap gate, is that gate between, say, it's over there by Belmont? between
It's
Delmar and Belmont?
probably 300, 400 foot west of Northcott.
Right.
It's got a manual closing structure on it too. You can, if the flap gate doesn't close automatically, we can go turn the valve and shut it. But the thing is, then there's no storm sewer on River Drive to pick up water if it continues raining. So that's the issue. We are looking at fixing that.
You're looking at fixing it?
Yeah, we are going to fix it.
Are they gonna ever open that damn thing if it's raining? I mean, that would be a catastrophe.
That flap gate stays open so that the early part of the storm can actually flow into the river. As soon as the river starts to rise, then the flap gate closes automatically. If there's debris in it or something, and if the water starts to build up, we're going to be out there checking them all. We're going to manually close it. Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that new design for that whole river.
Can anybody manually open the damn thing?
Yeah, but it's got an automatic closure on it, which,
Got a lock.
you know, you could always defeat.
We're done.
Yeah, you could always defeat something, but you can manually close it. So you can close it probably in 5 minutes tops.
All right. Good questions. But that's a priority. I just talked to Councilman O'Pinker. Bertram to Northcott is out to bid for next year already. That's a great project. It's a high priority project because of the situation right here. If you look at the Schleicher neighborhood, this is it right here. And if you look at what we've done, and I know a lot of you are way back there and you can't see it, but Jake could zoom in for the TV audience. When you pull in from Columbia Drive, we finished all the way to Bertram right over here with the storm sewer project on River Drive. Now if we could connect it all the way over to White Oak over here, or excuse me, the Northcott over here, and get that done, then work with CVOSH and reapply to the Army Corps of Engineers, we have one more reason to pull you out.
Maybe you want to show this one, the green area is what we took out.
Thank you, Tom. This map here that's available in City Hall, actually, right?
Yeah.
And it will be available for inspection after, shows the old flood zone, the green and the pink, wasn't it? All in the flood zone?
Yeah.
The green and the pink area was in the flood zone, and there's a very few portions of the city that are still left in the flood zone. This is the Schleicher neighborhood in here, and this is the Forest Avenue area over here, but it's literally hundreds and hundreds of homes coming out. There's a few left in, and we apologize.
So from Northcott to, from Columbia to Bertram, those people are out of the
No,
floodplain?
no. We've finished the storm sewer project to that point. We still have to finish it all the way out to White Oak, and then, excuse me, to Northcott, and then petition to get you removed.
Oh, okay. So
Okay,
nobody's
but
out
before,
of-
River Drive has always been unimproved for years and years and years. That if River Drive had been a normal city street with storm sewers in it, we would have had a better chance to get you out with this last application.
Is there any chance of getting the sewers in the subdivision redone, because they're under standard?
One block at a time, that's our motto. And,
Okay.
you know, but right now, I can tell you where work's gonna be next year. It's gonna be in Bertram out to Northcott, just so we could turn around and reapply to FEMA after that. And that's hopefully could get most of the neighborhood out in itself.
Mayor, if you're north of Beverly, you're probably okay. So if you're north of Beverly, Bertram, all those streets are out, but if you're south of Beverly, that's where the issue is. Then you're still in the floodplain.
And during the flood of the century, you were dry. Well, outside of seepage and stuff like that, but that neighborhood was a scary place to be, as you know, in 2008. It was a scary place to be. I remember walking literally right over by Northcott. I was walking in the grassy area over there, and a water geyser just started erupting right in front of me. And you're like, wait a second, what's the water doing over here? That was crazy. I'll never forget that 3 days.
On the bridge many a night.
Well, you know, we got work coming down the road too, working with our community in Munster. Unless, of course, I keep talking about how they charge 500% over for their water. They may not partner with us anymore. But Stan, you want to talk a little bit about the the bridge projects we have going with Munster?
Yeah, we have two separate bridge projects that we're working on. One is to create a flume bridge over at the Northcott Bridge. We're going to share the cost on that. It's about $250,000 each, so then we won't have to close the bridge anymore during a high water situation. Over at Columbia Avenue, it's a four-way split. We're going to pay a portion, Munster, the Basin Commission, and Lake County to elevate that bridge so that it's over the floodplain. Right now, that is the lowest bridge on the whole river. And usually that's the first one that we end up closing. One thing I wanted to mention, and I didn't say it earlier, Munster also got, because of our efforts, they kind of tagged on with Christopher Burke, and they got 2,500 homes out of the floodplain too.
It's beat up on
Munster and Highland.
Now, so the houses on the other side of the river in Munster, they're all out of the floodplain now?
Some. It's the same situation. All of them aren't, but some of them are.
Okay.
Right.
I didn't know if they all were or what.
Okay, great question. Any other questions on the flood zone? Sure.
A year ago, I got a letter. I'm on Northcott.
Okay, what block,
Close
sir?
to 7,900, 7,939. A year ago, I got a letter. I was out of the flood zone. So, I mean, I have it with me. So why?
Are you the home, literally this most southern, eastern home on Northcott?
No, I'm fifth from the end.
Fifth from the end?
I don't know.
You should have never got that letter if I, because the reason, and I don't doubt, sir, but the reason everybody on Northcott did not get out was because the Cabela's levy was used as a tieback levy with the Army Corps. When we filed, we said if the river floods east of Northcott and the water started rushing back, the Cabela's levy, the tieback levy would block it. That's why we built it, okay? So I mean, we knew that everybody west of the tieback levy, it would be longer to get them out. Now, Stan, do you know why this gentleman would have received that letter?
Did that letter come from the city of Hammond?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were a few errors made. There were some addresses that got messed up.
I remember
Don
that.
Novak, I thought, did a follow-up letter.
He did. I remember that was shortly before my election, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
So are there truly 1,433 homes from Northcott to state line along the Little Cal that got out of the flood zone according to the paper? That sounds like an awful lot. The map doesn't show that I can see. 1,433.
I haven't counted them, sir, but there's a lot of homes.
But it says along the Little Calumet.
But
Yeah,
basically,
you got to remember that goes pretty far north.
it goes as far north as 173rd over by Columbia Center. It goes, but that's the flood zone, sir. We don't make these maps up. This is given to us by the federal government based on elevation and stuff. Well, I'll tell you what.
They're still in.
Why don't we get some people to...
Yeah, you can come up after the meeting ends, and I'll be here with the maps.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to discuss this further with you.
Yeah. And there's another question over here on flood zones also. So, hold on 2 seconds, sir. How you doing, sir?
Stan, the question, this massive project that you're working on in Munster and Hammond.
That's the Northcott Bridge, sir?
At the Northcott Bridge.
Right.
Where does all this stormwater end up? Is it going to end up in the river?
Yes.
The size of these pipes are massive.
Oh, you're talking about the Long River Drive, sir? Or?
I'm talking about the project that's going on in Munster right now.
That's a Wicker Park sewer separation project.
Right. And the project that you're talking about along River Drive in Hammond. These are massive pipes carrying enormous amounts of stormwater.
Stormwater that used to go to the river only in more of a roundabout way. Now it's being separated and it goes directly to the river. But all that water, you know, all those rivers actually handle everything within their basin. The Grand Cal, the Little Cal, even the Kankakee River. There's no place else to put it. You can't legally take it out of that drainage basin and put it in somebody else's. That's against the law. So it has to go into the river. It's going to go into the river under a much more controlled situation so that we don't have issues like we had during the flood. That's why they elevated the walls and the levees along the river.
My concern, and I've lived here all of my life, my concern is that when this Corps of Engineers project was developed over the past 25 years, since that time, probably 10 or 15 new pumping stations have been added to this 13-mile section of river. And now we're putting in these massive pipes to carry even more stormwater to put into the river. The river, as the Corps of Engineers designed it, was not figured to handle this amount of water. Where is it going to go?
It's going to go into the river because there's no place else to put it.
And so the dikes, as we see them now, and the levees and the walls are not going to be able to handle it.
No, all that water, before the sewers were there, the water went into the river anyway. Only under a less controlled type of situation. Went through smaller pipes, smaller pump stations, ran over ground because there was no levee. If you understand how a drainage basin works, all the water has to go into that river. There's no place else to put it.
It can go into the river, and it has for years, like you say. But it went in at a much slower pace than it is.
And it flooded everything because of that.
Okay.
Park.
Hey guys, could we bring this one after? It seems like sort of like the earlier situation. This is starting to develop into a conversation. So if you don't mind, sir, coming up to stand after the meeting, is that all right? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hate doing that, but sometimes when you start focusing on one conversation, you sort of lose the rest of the room. So I just want to make sure we keep moving forward. Is there any other questions on the flood insurance issue? These maps are given to us by FEMA. These maps are measured, the elevations are measured and submitted to FEMA. If I could approve it, I would take the whole city out, and I would have taken them out years ago. It's not up to me. This is up to the federal government, and quite frankly, I think that they like taking Hammond's money because, you know, it could help balance the books a little bit, getting money from areas that don't flood very much and giving it to areas that do flood. So it's nice to get you guys out. We're going to work on getting the whole city out. That's our goal, and we're not going to stop until we get there, okay? And if you're one of the few that are left in, like my fire chief, his whole neighborhood is out, and his house is still in it. So that shows you how much control we have over this, because he's a great guy, and if I had any control over it, I would have done something for him. It's all elevations. And you're talking about like slices of bologna, that much of a difference. You got 2 slices of bologna compared to your neighbors, you're out and he's in. That's what we're talking about. It's literally hundredths of an inch. So we're doing everything we can. If you're still in there, I apologize. If you're in Schleicher, like a lot of you I imagine in this audience right now are, I want you to know that the councilman and I are going to work together next year to make sure that Bertram to Northcott is finished, and that'll give us a better opportunity to get your entire neighborhood out, because it's important. We're talking probably $1,000 at least for each resident that's in the flood zone. So that's real money. Any other questions? The maps are available for your review after the meeting's over.
Okay, when are they going to finish the road on 169th Street between Calumet to Southeastern?
Okay.
That's the last section of a project that started several years ago over at Klein Avenue, and it was built in 3 sections, and this is the 4th section, and it looks like we're going to go to bid on it either January or February. So that'll be under construction next year.
All right, thanks, Dan. How we doing on questions there, Michelle?
3 more.
Really? All right. We got 3 questions left. I'm putting a warning out to the audience. If you're having as much fun as I am, we need more questions. So, all right, let's go.
Okay, why doesn't Hammond residents get any notice of the crime that happens in Hammond, such as robbery of residents' homes? Nothing is in our Hammond newspaper to let us know what is going on right here in our own neighborhood.
Yeah, Chelsea, you want to answer that? Chelsea does a great job, and I would like to point that out. First off, I want to talk big picture, and then I'm going to pass off to the chief of police, okay? Obviously, we want neighbors to know when there's crimes in their neighborhood, all right? We want you to know that. I think the best way, in my opinion, that you could get that type of news is through your local crime watches. I know the chief is real good about having his officers show up to the crime watches every meeting and read you the crime stats and talk to you about crime prevention techniques. I know a lot of you know Officer Muta in the back also. He's a great officer that does these kinds of things as well. All right. Now, from the mayor's point of view, I don't like to advertise crime. I'm the spokesperson for your city. I don't like the fact that we have crime. It's an unfortunate part of society nowadays. I don't like to promote it myself. If it's in the paper, we have to deal with it, we'll deal with it. If we have a string of break-ins and it's important to get that information to you, I think there's more effective ways for us to do it. And that's working through our crime watch and working through our chief. I have a weekly radio show. I do Mayor's Night Out. We make ourselves pretty accessible. And it's something that's super #1 priority. We were talking earlier about responsibility with the library board and how we're 2/7. That's Hammond's #1 job for you. Make sure your house is safe and secure. Absolutely our top priority. You talk to the council people, you talk to the mayor, you talk to the clerk and the judge. I know if you talk to your police officers, code enforcement, all of our departments work together to make sure that you have a safe environment to live in. It's the most important thing. But when it comes to advertising crime, I don't think that's my job. I mean, if it's there, we have to deal with it. We will. If not, I would rather deal with you in settings, I hate to say off the record, I'd rather deal with you in a one-on-one type of setting where we could deal with it and be constructive about it. Chief Miller?
Years ago, the Times used to have a crime blog, and for editorial reasons, they decided to discontinue that. For all the years I've been a police officer, we have a stack of reports. Every day we add our reports to it, and the Times has access to it. They can come in and look through them. Sometimes they'll come through and find something notable, a robbery or something like that, and they'll report it, but they don't do a crime blog anymore. So what our police department did is on our online, on our website, we have a link that goes to crimereports.com, and every single night, basically, the statistics from our crime records goes into this mapping system, and it shows you every place in the city where we've had a crime. And it repopulates it like every other day, so it's very current. And I would encourage you to go to it. You can also link it through the city website. If you go Hammond.com, click on the police department, and go right to crimereports.com. And we pay a huge subscription fee, so I hope people are looking at it. It's a good thing. Like the mayor, we don't want to run around and brag that we have crime. We do have crime. Fortunately, it's 6% down this year. I'm very proud to announce that. But
could you say that again, Chief Miller?
The 6% down. Yes, we are down 6%.
How did we get stats? Because I hear, the critics say, "Oh, that's just Mayor McDermott and Chief Miller counting the numbers," right?
No.
But I mean, that's what the perception is. I hear
Correct. That is the perception. We have the same woman has run our record section for 10 years. That's through several administrations. Still collects all our crime statistics. We get it from all the reported crime we have, and we have to report in 6 major crime areas: murder, rape, robbery, burglary. I won't go through all of them. And we have to keep very, very accurate records. Then we have to submit those to the Department of Justice. And every once in a while, they come through and they audit our system to make sure that we are keeping them correctly. And the last time they went through, they gave us just huge reviews, told us what a great job we're doing. Those are also online. I put out the crime stats at the end of the year and compare them to the last few years. In 8 years, we brought down crime over 20%. So when people say, well, crime's out of control, you know what? Any crime is bad. Any crime is out of control. But to say our crime is skyrocketing is definitely not true.
Thank you, Chief. Any crime is too much. I think that's very important. I think the best way to look at being the mayor and working with the police department is I'm sort of like the general, and I leave it to whatever rank. I'm losing my ranks here. I was in the Navy. It was admirals to captains, but Chief Miller goes out and gets the job done. It's like a war, and we're at war. And you got an army in the field, and they're working every single day on making you safe, and we're working every single day on arresting the bad guys, and we're going to outlast them. We got more money than them, we got more time than them, and we're more devoted than they are. And the police department, the Hammond Police Department, done an excellent job while I've been mayor. I've been blessed to have only one chief while I've been mayor, and that's very unusual. So I want to say thanks to Chief Miller and to John Muta and all the other Hammond police officers that are out there watching today. Thank you very much. How appropriate. I'm wearing my police shirt today. It was given to me by the Hammond FOP. Actually, officer, well, I'm not going to embarrass him because his fellow officers will do things to him, but it says 2011 New York World Police and Fire Games. It was given to me because I supported their team and sponsored them, and they did an excellent job representing Hammond. So thanks to our Hammond police officers. All right, let's move on.
What is going in at the old Virgil Huber Funeral Home? And P.S., you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I like that. Bill Talon, leader of economic development, or planning development, which includes economic development.
Correct.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Mayor.
Good. Thanks for wearing a suit today. I appreciate it.
I was out in the field a little bit today, so sometimes I have to dress down a little bit so I don't mess up my suits. The Virgil Huber Funeral Home should be being transformed into a physical therapy type business. I don't have all the details on me right now. I don't have the paperwork in front of me. That funeral home, though, the history of that is, it's been vacant for a long time, for those of you that don't know. And the owner of the funeral home would not sell it to somebody else and allow them to offer funeral home type services. And when you have a building that's set up a certain way, typically a new user is going to want to do some of the similar activities you were doing previously. So it's sat vacant for a long time. I believe there's a physical therapy / chiropractor business that's going to be moving in the near future, and I hope that answers the question.
Great. Thank you, Phil. I was asked that question on Mayor's Night also. Yeah. Okay. Have any more questions, Michelle?
I have a thank you.
All right.
I'll read real quick. We have one more question after that. Thank you, Mayor and Mylan, for the Wolf Lake Trail.
Oh, thank you very much. You know what? This is good. I'm glad that you brought that up. Very good. We recently, Mylan, you heard this, right? We were awarded MPO Project of the Year for the Wolf Lake Trail that goes, well.
Just happened to be one of those great meetings, right?
Yeah. The Wolf Lake Trail, the bridge that we built over New York and Indianapolis Boulevard, huge bridge. A lot of people thought it was Klein Avenue when we were building it. It's a big bridge, but it's a bicycle bridge that links the Whiting Bike Trail to the George Lake Bike Trail. That bridge is unbelievably beautiful. Obviously, it makes it a lot easier to take the bike trails because you don't have to go across two major, basically highways. Project of the Year, MPO Project of the Year. We got a really nice plaque I'm going to hang in City Hall. So that was a great project. We've done a lot of work up there. And, I know that a lot of this is focused along Wolf Lake up there, in Robertsdale section of the city. Our job now is to make it easier to link us up in the southern part of Hammond to us up all over the city. And we're working right now, we're doing bike trail bridges next year on the Erie-Lackawanna, which is right next to Gavitt High School here. We're going to have a bike trail bridge that goes right over by 167th and Columbia. You know how the bike trail has to cross 167th and Columbia? And this is a good safety issue for children going to and from school as well. We're going to fly over that with a bike trail bridge, land it, and then we're going to go over towards Maywood School, 165th and Maywood, and we're going to fly a bike trail bridge over 165th over there and land it in Maywood School. Those bridges are already moving. They're going to be done hopefully next August because we have the Whiting Hammond All Night Ride next year, and we're aiming for an August goal. Eventually, we're going to put another bike trail bridge over by the Central Firehouse, over by Calumet Avenue over there. But next year, we got those two trails on the Erie-Lackawanna, and then we just did the Lyman Trail that goes, actually the Monon Trail, on 165th in Lyman. The bike trail there, we're putting a bridge there, which will definitely make it easier to get across 165th to get to Kenwood School. I imagine a lot of kids are going to like that bridge, and parents. And eventually, when you go all the way down the Monon Trail to the Little Calumet River, there's going to be a bridge that links over the Little Calumet River and connects up to the Munster Bike Trail system there. Unless I keep talking about Munster's water rates, then that might not happen. So, yes, sir. Look at that. We have a map. We also have this available. We're taking our bike trails very seriously. It's a beautiful asset in the city of Hammond, and unfortunately, it's cut up into too many pieces. 165th goes down and cuts our bike trails. 169th cuts our bike trails. We need to figure out ways to promote biking in Hammond, especially with the buses shutting down the way they did, especially with more people working out, and for your kids going to school. Instead of having to cross 165th to go to school, wouldn't it be nicer for the parent to know your kid was walking over a bridge instead? We're working real hard on this. We've had a lot of meetings on this, and we're trying to do it while keeping your, taxes from going up. So you'll see a lot more about that next year, a lot more construction. Any questions on bike trail bridges? Bike trails, anything? Raymond, in the back?
I just want to thank you for that Monon, how do you say it?
Monon Trail?
Yes, I used it. I used it recently.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your issue with 165th.
Thank you.
I know when I'm going into downtown Hammond, even on my wheelchair, as fast
Yes,
as
sir.
it is,
I know.
I come pretty close to getting hit.
I know.
So
It's a
I wanna
dangerous crossing.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say that, Raymond. I appreciate it. And I mean, Raymond, we want to make it so that, we're handicap accessible all over the city. You should be able to jump on a bike trail in any part of Hammond and get to another part of Hammond safely. On a bike, on a wheelchair, jogging. That's a good goal for us to have. And right now, it seems like we really are going to, once we finish up next year's projects with the bike trail bridge, we've really linked up almost every part of Hammond by bike trail except for Hessville. Hessville is just hanging out there, and there's no connections to it. So we're going to get creative and hook up our trails to Hessville as well. And it's probably going to involve street options, but it's not fair for the residents of Hessville that don't have the access to the trails like we all do over here. So you're going to see a lot of work coming in the future on these issues. I think they're very important. And it's good for quality of life. It's good for health and safety. Anyway, it looks like we have a question. Oh, Raymond has one more, and then we'll come to you. Okay, sir?
Yeah, my question has to be next. And I do try to acknowledge when things are going well in the city.
Thank
I
you.
know I may be one of your most vocal critics, but when
That's all
things
right.
are going well
I have a lot
in
of
the
critics.
city, I want to give you the appreciation that you deserve.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is...
Hey, Raymond, is it on bike trails? Because this gentleman has a bike trail question, then we'll come back to
sorry,
you.
yeah, she had brought my question.
Okay, we'll come back to yours in a second, okay? All right. How you doing, sir?
Good.
Thanks.
When we raise up the bridge on Northcott and you're crossing across the Cabela's on that bike trail, are you going to put a bridge in there so, it's going to be a big hump there and you ain't going to be able to see people crossing
So
the road?
explain that to me again. So when the new bridge goes in
It's
at
going to be a
Northcott,
bigger hump. I mean, right now when you walk from Slacker into
Right.
the Cabela's property,
from Slacker into
you
yeah.
kind of got to watch, and if there's a car coming, you almost got to run because there's that big hump coming out of Munster into
Okay.
Hammond.
Good.
And
Okay,
we
hold on. I
raise
want to
the
get back
bridge
to
up
that.
higher.
I'm going to name a resolution. I'm going to name it Schleicher Day in the city of Hammond. There's some people that say Schleicher, like me. I'm really, really That's a pet peeve of mine, and I hear some people use other terms that make it sound like slacker, and I hate that. No offense. I'm not trying to, but like I really focus on Schleicher. I think that's proper pronunciation of it, and I don't like. I think some people say slacker and they use it in derogatory ways, and I'm not suggesting you did that, sir. I don't know why I'm even talking about this actually. So. Anyway, sorry.
So when the bridge comes up,
Yes, sir.
Are you going to do something there, like another bridge over the top where you?
Actually, the bridge isn't going to be elevated. Only the walls on the side of it. It's a flume bridge. So during an extremely high water situation, water is going to be higher than the top of the bridge, but it's not going to spill over because the walls will be raised on both sides.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean to embarrass you. I hear it all the time, actually. I even hear it from people who live in the neighborhood. Where do you live? Slacker? I'm like, what? It's Schleicher. He's like, you live there. Help me out here. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general. I hear it a lot.
I'd like to make
I'd
like to make a comment on the master plan for the bike trail system. Once it's completed, there's going to be bike trails within 3/4 of a mile of everyone's home.
Right, but that includes the work we have to do in Hessville, which is
right. That includes the work, all the proposed stuff.
Right.
And we'll have more bike trails in any community east of Colorado Springs.
Really?
For our sites. We talked to a nationally renowned consulting firm out of Chicago last year. It's actually an organization, I shouldn't say firm. And they said that we will probably have, for a city our size, we would have, based on per capita, we'd have more off-road bike trails than any city east of Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is pretty impressive when it's done.
Thank you, Tom, for writing that out. Also, you know what? Somebody indicated to me earlier also, talking about the crime situation. Chief Miller has a very active blog that has a lot of followers. Could you give everybody the address on that just to remind them? He updates this regularly, and that's another way to stay in touch with what's going on in the Hammond Police Department.
My blog addresses all the current issues that are going on. If we have something that the neighbors need to know in a certain area, I try to put it in there. And you can get that, again, through the Go Hammond site, or you can go directly to HammondPolice.com, HammondPoliceDepartment.com, and it's on there also. You'll see my handsome picture in there, and you click on that, and it goes right to my blog.
Keeps talking like that, we may have to get a new chief. All right. I always tell Chief Miller it's like a marriage between a mayor and a police chief. So, a good marriage, though. Yeah. So.
It's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the plans for more development by Cabela's and White Castle?
This is Mr. Fletcher's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Cabela's fence on Northcott blocks the bike path.
Okay, go through it again, and I know he probably wants to follow it up, right, Raymond?
There's a fence directly behind Cabela's, right off Northcott.
Fence, yeah. That's emergency entrance for fire department in case of emergency only.
Okay, I understand the use of the fence. It used to have access, prior to that fence being up there, there used to be access to the bike trail there.
No, that's always been locked, Raymond. That was when we brought in Cabela's, there was a lot of concern on Northcott that we were going to make that an entrance to Cabela's, and we resisted hard from the beginning. Cabela's wanted it also, because if we would have made that an entrance, it would have been like Walmart on 165th, how everybody takes the back entrance in, and it literally ruined that neighborhood because of all the traffic. If we would have done that, we would have hurt that neighborhood, and we held strong on that. However, the Hammond Fire Department needed an emergency entrance, because if there's a fire, they're going to be responding from Sevens, and they need to get there quick. They don't want to go down the boulevard to get to Cabela's, so they could just shoot right down Northcott and go through the old Woodmar Country Club entrance. So, I believe Jeff, hey Jeff, what's going on? Nice. Hey Chief. Sorry, I was talking about you earlier. Yeah, right. Hey, this is Chief Smith. His house is still in the flood zone, one of the only in the neighborhood, right?
Half inch from being out.
Half an inch? Yeah. All right. I was just talking about you. Could you go ahead and address that?
Yeah, we use the back entrance for Cabela's during a fire call. We have a key to the lock. It's called bolt cutters. And we can just
Master key.
We cut the lock, and all the rigs can come that way. Some of them come from the east, so they will come down the boulevard, but we could go both ways on it. So the gate is there just for us. I don't think there's ever been like a section open just to use a bike trail. It's always been
prior to that fence being put in, so I didn't know if that was just
that might have been during
part
construction.
of the finishing of the project.
That might have been during construction.
Okay.
But since Cabela's been open, it's been blocked completely.
Okay, and going on with the Cabela area, what are the plans for more economic development by Cabela's and Aldi's? We had heard of a water park, and we had heard of a movie theater. What is going, and Burlington Coat Factory. So what's going to go on with that area now?
Okay, I'll start first with the Kmart side or Aldi side. That property was owned by Mr. Markopoulos, who's the same owner at Woodmar Mall. I think a lot of people know that. I believe just recently the property has changed ownership. And in this situation, this is a good thing. The reason things were stagnant over there is Mr. Markopoulos had some issues with his financing, and to make a long story short and not get into somebody's personal information, he was not able to develop any property there. I don't think he had the funds to develop property, and he had liens against him on that property because of previous projects that he did not pay all the contractors on. Long story short, property has now changed ownership, and I think what you're going to see in early 2013 is you're now going to see that property start to develop. Now we have to wait. It just recently changed ownership, so I'm speculating a little bit, but we've talked to a number of real estate people. In fact, if you drive by there, you will see real estate signs up for the first time in a long time. I believe it's Cushman and somebody else that's actually marketing the property right now. So I believe in 2013, from the conversations that we've had, you are going to see things start to develop there. I can't promise you it'll be a movie theater, but what I can promise you is it's going to become active again. And you'll see there's a couple outlots right in front, right next to White Castle. Other than the BMV and Aldi, you have that large middle retail space that used to be the actual Kmart. And then you have the back where the Builder Square was, where there's still a lot of debris left over from when Mr. Markopoulos knocked it down. So I hope that answers that question. I don't have anything specific, but it's looking very promising as of just recently. As far as the Cabela's property, there's a team of us right now, and when I say team, I'm talking about the mayor, I'm talking about the chief of staff, our director of economic development, Beth Jacobson, who's not here, who have been working with Cabela's very closely over the last 2 months on some negotiations. And unfortunately, we have not, it's not final yet, so I can't publicly disclose anything. What I would suggest is that you keep an eye on announcements coming up in the very near future. I believe you're going to see some very positive activity, and here's some exciting news that's been going on with the city. Cabela's, as you know, has not developed. A lot of people, you heard a lot of people complain and say, hey, Cabela's went in, they said they were going to have a water park and restaurants and all this retail. Where's it at? They were in the floodplain just like everybody else, and now that their flood class zone changed as well, they are now prepared to move forward. We've been working with them over the last 2 months. The reason there's negotiations, you'll find out in the very near future, but everything is looking really positive, and I think we're going to have some exciting news early in 2013, if not at the end of this year.
Thank you, Phil.
And why have you, while you brought it up, how about Woodmar?
Sure, I love talking about Woodmar. Woodmar Mall, let's say the one positive at Woodmar, and then let's talk about the other stuff, which is the major issues we have. A new business opened at Woodmar. Has everybody seen that? Subway is now open at Woodmar Mall. Yes, they make great sandwiches. I think everybody knows the history of Woodmar at this point, so I don't know that I want to go all the way back. But what I will what I will tell you is this: we worked out an agreement with Mr. Markopoulos back in May of 2010. Okay, that was a long time ago. And the agreement stated that he was going to resurface the parking lot, he's going to put in new landscaping, he was going to knock down the old Woodmar sign, clean the site up, put new lighting in, and build a 12,000 square foot retail outlet building, okay? A number of those things have happened. The parking lot's been resurfaced. There is some new lighting. Obviously the building is up and it has its first user. However, there's a number of things, according to our agreement, that we don't feel have been reached yet. And one of those things that's in the agreement is that the building has to be fully leased. Obviously, right now it is not. So I think you'll probably also hear some information about that in the near future. But what I'll tell you is this: if the city never came to some sort of agreement with Mr. Markopoulos at Woodmar, what you'd have right now is a Carson's building with a parking lot with potholes that's not maintained, landscaping out of control, no lighting, because we used to get calls all the time in planning and development. Hey, I'm driving to Carson's. I can't even, I'm parking my car. I can't see people walking around. It's dangerous. So there's a number of things. Nothing would have ever happened if we didn't come to terms. We worked as a partner with him. We tried to work with him to get this development up and active again. And obviously, there's been mild success, but not a lot. And now we have to deal with where we're at, and we're going to go forward. And I think in the very near future, you'll see what that means.
Thanks, Bill. I'm glad Phil answered those questions. Thank you. We have a question over here, Michelle. Hi.
Hello. Just curious.
Mm-hmm.
How much does the bike road, the route, cost from the beginning to all the way to the end, to the other?
What do you mean? Well, we just got done doing, is that 3 miles? Oh, Stan just disappeared. All day I've been turning around and my guys are gone. We just did 3 miles, right, from downtown Hammond to basically Lyman and 175th, and that cost $800,000 for 3 miles. Yeah, I mean, but we do streets. I mean, one thing you learn, you know, as the councilman could tell you, you do 1 block with the storm sewers and new infrastructure, councilman, how much are you looking at for 1 block? $1 million for 1 block. So we did 3 miles and a half, I think it's closer to 3.5 miles of bike trail for less than what it costs Councilman O'Pinker to do 1 block. And that's, I know, frustrating for councilmen, especially when I'm saying, hey, councilman, we got to get River Drive done. And he's thinking 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, right? And so I know he's worried about finances, and I know he is. That's why I'm telling him we're going to partner on it. But these are the types of issues. Councilman O'Pinker, how many miles of streets do you have in your district? 100? Yeah, we could really use Stan right now. Hey, there he is. Hey, Stan. Hey, Stan, how many miles in the 5th district do you think? Miles of streets.
How many miles of streets?
Yeah.
Just in the 5th district, there's about 286 miles for the whole city.
Okay.
So it's probably 1/6 of that.
All right. 40, 50 miles? And each block costs him $1 million. So when you're talking about expense for the councilman, you know, when we did 3.5 miles of bike trail for $800,000, that was actually a pretty good deal the way we look at it. Because when we do councilman, or any of the councilmen, it's way more expensive. So thank you for the question. Well, the bike trail's been around for, my father actually, and I know Councilwoman Kazmierzak, when she was on the Hammond City Council, was a big proponent of the Hammond Bike Trail, the Erie Lackawanna, right? So we were lucky actually that a lot of the groundwork's been done already. Now, the stuff we're doing up in Robertsdale is part of an award that we got through the Regional Development Authority, so it didn't cost Hammond taxpayers anything. It was pooled gaming money actually that paid for it, not just Hammond money, by the way, a lot of it, Major Moves money. But to tell you per mile, how much do you think a bike trail per square mile costs, Dan?
Bike trail per lineal mile?
Cost us $800,000 for 3.5 miles. So.
Yeah, it cost us about $400,000 for the Monon Trail.
Oh, it's $400,000?
And the Monon Trail runs.
Oh, all right, our numbers were off. 400,000.
3.5 miles.
So 100 and something thousand per mile.
Yeah, something like that.
It's expensive. And you know, we have to obviously make sure it's safe, and we got to make sure it's graded, and we have to make sure it's raised, and so. Anyway, thank you for the question, ma'am.
I would like to know about that scientific thing which is on Wolf Lake. The friend of mine called that a thing with the horns, with the big speakers. How is that financed?
This sounds like a Mylan Krasinski question to me. Mylan, why don't you grab a microphone? Hammond Port Authority is represented by Mylan Krasinski. Mylan, what is that thing? Oh,
The pavilion, Mayor. You're talking about the pavilion at Wolf Lake?
Okay, there you go, Mylan.
There you go. The pavilion at Wolf Lake? Yeah, again, what the mayor was describing with the Regional Development Authority dollars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you. And it was financed with those dollars, ma'am. Yes.
With the RDA dollars.
RDA dollars,
Right.
yep.
All right. Michelle, any more questions?
Nope, that's it, we're done.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you've gotten a taste of what it's like to run city government. We want to thank you for coming out to the Mayor's Night Out. Remind you this is going to be on GoHammond.tv. I want to thank you all for coming out and wish you well. Take care. Again, thank you to Gavitt High School and Principal Michelle Ondas for letting us use Gavitt. Thank you, guys.